I'm so frustrated right now. Okay, I'll tell you why. So this is going to be a real local issue, right? So many of you outside of the realm of Utah probably won't be able to relate or care about it, which is totally understandable. But the frustration I have is I go from just relishing in the outcome of the election and watching everything that has to do with that. And then this late Saturday night into Sunday morning, we had the BYU Utah game, football game at Rice Eccles Stadium, and it's a rivalry game, and if you're not into it, you'll just like, well, whatever, you know. But if you're into it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I look tired, I know, I'm sorry, but I'm not tired. I've been working yard work and other things, and it's just been awesome. And what a gorgeous day today, Veterans Day in Utah. Anyway, so my frustration is I I I can't even concentrate on one video or listening to a podcast or I found a Big 12 podcaster just through searching, you know, it popped up. He's a young guy and he had some great comments on the game. So if you haven't watched the game or if you don't really care, I just let it go and just let me talk. And then I'll tie some other things in that might be a little more relevant to everybody. But so it's worth, you know, if you're a fan at all of college football, it's worth watching the last segment of this game where BYU was way in the hole, time running out, fourth down and long, and Utah commits a holding call, which makes the Ute fans, the Ute coaches, the athletic director just come ballistic because the game would have been over. But because there was a 10-yard penalty, BYU got a first down. Then they made a couple of more first downs, moved the ball down the field, and then with 3 or 4 seconds left, they kick a field goal, win by 1 point. It was incredible. But there was a major meltdown by the athletic director, which usually they don't have much to say after, you know, especially right after a game, but he was belligerent. He talked about the Big 12, how he wished they weren't part of the Big 12, and the referees stole the game from them, and just on and on and on. Really, really, it's not very classy, you know, not a class act. He got fined $40,000. So it wasn't just a BYU fan opinion of this, but very reminiscent of John Beck and Johnny Harline, you know, winning, which was the last time BYU won at University of Utah, I think, at Rice Eccles. Just incredible. And Ratzlaff and John Beck were both wearing number 12, I think it is, 12. You know, that's kind of a cool number, right? And of course, Ratzlaff is a Jewish young man, which kind of makes it even more cool for me anyway. I don't know. It's just like, hey, this is awesome. But Coach Whittingham, Coach Witt, who played his collegiate career with BYU, but then he became a coach at University of Utah, and has been a coach there for many years. He had a meltdown. So kicked a chair after the press conference, you know, and blamed the refs and just all kinds of stuff. It was, you know, from a BYU fan standpoint, it was awesome to see the meltdown. Okay, I'm not going to lie. But a theory that I have on this is my guess is both the athletic director and Coach Witt were not only frustrated because they'd lost 4 games in a row, now 5 games in a row, but typically you can work through that because of the level that you're playing. Coach Whitt makes millions of dollars every year. The athletic director probably makes a pile of money as well. Working for the University of Utah, they make tons of money, and they have tons of experience. They can take these losses and go, you know what? It is what it is. We lost our starting quarterback, Cam Rising, and we're going to have to rebuild, but we're going to be strong next year. We got, we had a great defense. We had a great game plan with our Rose, I think, was their quarterback, and so you kind of deal with it. But think of this. Think of just a few days before their leftist liberal candidate lost. Then you're pissed off already. You're very upset. And so you already have copped an attitude. And I'm not saying that I know for sure they supported Kamala, but I think they did. It's this university atmosphere, very leftist. Most university are. BYU is, and I'm going to talk about the math professor down there in just a minute. But think of the double whammy. remember when Donald Trump, we're gonna win big, we're gonna win all the time. You're gonna get tired of winning. Well, that's what's happened to me the last couple of days is with the election, and then with this game. I'm having a hard time accepting the wins because in my life and the things I cover and just kind of the way things go, it seems like there's always opposition, right? And so when you get a victory, you just kind of like, oh man, so this is what the rest of the world feels like. So with me being frustrated winning so much, I think they in turn, this was more than just we lost another football game and how they lost it. It all contributed, don't get me wrong. But I think the fact that the whole country, not the whole country, but just the majority of the country went with Donald J. Trump and that agenda, I think was very frustrating to a lot of people in the college realm. Now, and so that's why you had this major meltdown where otherwise, you're going to have some frustration. Obviously, you lose a close game like that, a game you should have won, you're going to have some frustration, but not to the extent. But if you combine it with how the election went, then it explains a lot. That's how I look at it. And then I'm just the reverse of that. Everything is just like, holy smokes. Now, with this math professor at BYU, okay, I've covered this kind of crap before, and most of you probably won't like my take on this, and you'll get frustrated with me, kind of like the polygamy thing. You'll have your comments, but here's the deal, guys. I've been around, having presided over a mission in the Salt Lake Valley for 3 years, being inundated with meetings and general authorities and trying out things in our mission. It was a full-fledged proselyting mission. We had missionaries from all over the world. And in the Salt Lake missions, they'd quite often try things out before it went out to other missions in the world. And using social media, using devices, iPads or tablets or smartphones, or that all came through, and then having Facebook accounts and all that kind of stuff. So we served from 2015 to 18, so we're out of the loop. Obviously, it's been a while, but one of the things that became so prevalent is how left leaning many of the 70 and people from the mission department were. But it totally makes sense. A lot of them were educated, higher education, went to universities. Many of them went to prestigious universities. A lot of them were attorneys or some kind of professional. Well, they can't help but be influenced by the environment that they've been in for several years. And the church itself, in the government aspect of the church, it's very left leaning, guys. It's very left leaning. And so here you have this math professor of BYU, and he comes out with scriptures, and I'm not going to get it. You all know the story. And he's using scriptures, I think it was out of Helaman, to prove his point that if you voted for Trump, you're a dirtbag. And here's the scriptures to back it up. And then a student who, for good for him, I guess, but I think these things are kind of a waste of time. But he takes a proclamation, puts it on the door, and the teacher tears it down and then tears it in front of the kid. And the kid's like, you guys have seen the video. The kid goes, that's revelation, modern revelation, and you're tearing that up. It's from a prophet of God. And then the teacher goes, well, you're not a prophet. And he goes, I didn't say I was, but Gordon B. Hinckley, who along with the first presidency in Quorum 12, signed this proclamation, the family, a proclamation to the world. And they go on and on. Well, this teacher, this professor obviously knew that he was being filmed. They don't care. And listen, you can get mad at the teacher, you can get mad at BYU, but guys, who hired the teacher, BYU? Who owns BYU, the LDS, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? And it's a private school. Now, they're part of the Big 12. So there's concessions you have to make. There's things that you have to do. But the reality is that many people in leadership, high leadership positions of the church, are very left-leaning. That's just the reality. And people probably on this channel watching this, they'll go, they either won't believe me, they'll think I'm bad-mouthing, or they'll think I don't know what I'm talking about. And I feel like I experienced it for 3 years. I saw it. I saw meetings where so if you think of 2015 to 18, this is when Trump was, we went from Obama to Trump, and then Trump built the wall during that time. Well, we had a ton of missionaries that were DACA missionaries. We had 29 Spanish units in our mission. So a unit would be either a branch or a ward. Most of them were wards. We had a real change when Trump. So we started with Obama, and then Trump wins the election, and in 2016, but then becomes the president in 2017. Is that right, or is it 15 and then 16? Yeah. Anyway, it was during that time. Well, the build the wall. Well, we had one of the presidents of the 70 come and tour our mission, and he said, there's not going to be a wall. Don't worry about it. The Lord wants people to come in here. We don't believe in borders. This was in front of our whole mission. And one of the presidents of the 70, and I just sat there like, are you kidding me? We have laws. We have a president now that's saying that. So totally against President Trump at that time. One of the members of the 70. Now, look, this wasn't unique. We had a general authority. So we had that Papa Osler. Some of you have heard about Osler, and he writes books on the alphabet soup community, and they're in Deseret book. He's kind of the guru. He's so understanding and Christ-like, and really, he's, in my opinion, he's not a good guy. Well, he was one of the bishops in our mission, and this was out in Magna. And I would go to that ward. It was a YSA ward. We'd go to that ward. We had baptisms out of there. We'd go there, and I get to meet him and see him. And first, I was like, he seems like a good guy, no big deal. Didn't really know anything about him. But our missionaries that served in that ward were like, hey, this is weird. He like preaches this stuff like from the pulpit, how this is okay, and I'm like, what? So I went, witnessed it myself, brought it to the attention of the 70 that we worked with over the mission, and he goes, yeah, he does a lot of good with people in that community. So that's awesome. And I was just like, well, I'm barking up the wrong tree. It's not gonna have any effect. Well, as time goes on, you see, and these people are exposed, and many people. So Greg Mattson, I love Greg. He's a great guy. He's a very professional. He has the Quick Media YouTube channel. And he and I have had this not really like in person discussion, but he knows my opinion, and I obviously I know his, but he'll put things in a box or compartmentalize these situations and go, well, this professor's wrong or bad, and BYU needs to fix it, kind of thing. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with this professor. Bless his heart. He's a product of his environment. He's very welcome at BYU. The whole LGBT plus, alphabet, it's all welcome at BYU. The professors, many of them push it. And if they don't push it, they're silent. They don't, it's a very left liberal environment. And it's supported by leadership that feels the same. So if you don't include the leadership feeling this way because and see, I can sustain them 100% in their calling. I don't agree with their view. I have a whole different background than they do. I had a trucking company. I never graduated from a university. I've always been suspect of CES and how if it comes from CES, it automatically has the stamp of approval and all that kind of stuff. So I come from a totally different point of view, but I'm okay that they are where they are and what they're doing, just realizing I don't believe everything that they dish out. I just don't believe it. And I know a lot of people have a hard time with me because I become critical, and in some ways people think I'm hypocritical because I'll sustain and support and love the gospel of Jesus Christ as administered through the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and that is the kingdom of God on earth. But I'll say certain things that I disagree with that come from headquarters, if you will, and then others will say if you don't buy into everything they say, you're an apostate. Well, that's just bull crap. It's not. That's not how the Lord's church runs, in my opinion. We can have opinions. We still can sustain, but we can go, you know what, your politics, man, I don't agree with. And so this BYU professor who tears up the proclamation and gets mad at people for voting for Trump and tries to use the Book of Mormon to make his point, that's just what's going to happen at a liberal university. And I like to use the word left versus liberal because I consider myself kind of liberal in like the old school liberal in a way, more of libertarian kind of thing. Like, if you want to do that, that's your deal, but don't force it on me, kind of thing. The Democrat, Republican, those guys use each other just to promote their own agenda. in my opinion, many of them. But for the most part, the Republican platform and what they have to offer there aligns way more with how I feel than the Democrat platform. So I have my opinion. I think now personally, I think another mistake or an issue is this just is kind of this weird thing, and it probably has to do with the 501c3, I think it's called, but that we just, we can't talk politics at church, from the pulpit, anywhere, where you see other preachers are very political. But it's as if nothing ever happened. One of the commenters talked about his son being at the MTC during the election, and they told the missionaries at the MTC, you're not to find out, you're not to think about, you're not to even wonder who won the presidency. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. You cannot separate the world from missionary work. It has to be. It can't just be in a vacuum. This is something that I never felt comfortable about. We should know the current events going on. We should have an understanding of what's happening, not be consumed by it because we're focused as a missionary on that, but we still should be informed. But for some reason, it's just this idea that we cannot talk politically. And yet, if you bring up LGBT stuff at church, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Loving them and accepting them and not offending them, and going through all these hoops, where we don't condone, but we don't condemn, and just all this stuff. Well, that's political, guys. That's political. Now, I'm not saying we necessarily need to bring up a candidate or whatever, but issues for sure. And they have, it's relative as to what we're living in right now. But if you're going to avoid anything that could be offensive or could align you with a certain candidate or anything like that, you're just not supposed to bring it up. I don't see how that happens. So that's kind of my take on that professor. It's, if you're going to get upset at anybody, you would get upset at church leadership and say, why is this guy still working at a school that's owned by the church? That's it. You don't get mad at the professor, and you really don't get mad at the BYU leadership at BYU, because this is just how they feel. It's not that they're unaware. It's that they'll probably give this guy a promotion. They'll probably say, good for you for standing up. And this is what university is about, is to challenge people and to get them thinking a certain way. You might not think it happens at BYU, and you might think that the brethren are just like, gosh, I can't, if we just let them know that this is going on, they'll fix it. It's like, and everybody stems back to Elder Holland, President Holland's comments about BYU a couple years ago, and to the faculty and all that. Well, it's a very left-leaning university. It's a very left-leaning university. If I had children that were at that age going, I would recommend just going to any school that you feel, because you're not going to get a better spiritual experience. You can get that through an institute at any university, a YSA, through your own personal study, whatever you want, but at least at a state school or a different, not a private university or an elite university, whatever. At least you go in eyes wide open. But if you have the concept in your mind that if I send my kids or grandkids to BYU or encourage them to go to BYU, that they'll be immune from all this worldly Babylonian nonsense. It's not going to, they're going to experience it there. So it might be less expensive, and as long as you know, and you can let them know, hey, this is a tough school, and you're going to hear a lot of crap, then maybe that would be okay. But I think getting frustrated with the professor or the school is a waste of time. It's a waste of time. This is what they want. They hire the people they want there. They put up with the things that they want there. That's the reality that we live in. So, and socially and everything else, that's the world. If you think that our leaders are exempt from the environment that they were educated in, had their occupations in, and really the being involved with the church, which is a huge corporation, and so there's a totally different mindset. If you think that doesn't have an effect on how they make decisions, I think you're totally wrong. It has everything to do. But if you're more of an entrepreneurial type person, or the hard knocks of your education was maybe some higher education mixed with just real life experience, you're going to have a whole different outlook on things. And I feel like that's what mostly this channel appeals to. Now, I've taken a ton of grief over this polygamy, my idea of polygamy, that Joseph Smith had nothing to do with it. And I'm going to be very consistent about this. Because I find no evidence of anything in the last 100 years, I don't know, a long time, that it's the future of our existence in the eternities is some kind of plural marriage kind of thing. I don't believe it. And I also don't believe that the evidence is strong enough that Joseph Smith was the originator of it. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up at this point is I can have that opinion. I can't believe how many people are just like, well, you hate Brigham Young, you're an apostate, you're leading people astray, you're making people question, blah, blah, blah. Well, I can say the same back and say, well, you're putting Joseph in this light. My point is you can have an opinion on certain things here, guys. The essays on the church website are just that. They're essays, they're opinions. It just doesn't, you can't take that as, well, if it's on the church website, then it's doctrine. Some people probably believe it, some people don't. President Hinckley, he said that polygamy wasn't doctrine. Plural marriage wasn't doctrine, and that we don't believe in it anymore. It's not part of it. And then you can say, well, President Nilsson got sealed, and so did President Oaks. They got sealed to second women. Well, sealing is a whole different thing, and marriage is for here on earth. So they're legally married. That's awesome. But being sealed has so many different meanings if you look at it, and so having a different opinion, have some flexibility for people, instead of just calling out saying, oh, I can't follow you anymore. I mean, you can not follow. I understand that. Just because you might not like, how I do things or whatever. I totally get that. But to get upset and say, well, you have a different opinion. That's like saying I like BYU football over University of Utah football, so therefore I can't talk to you, or vice versa. Or that's really what we're talking about here. Or I love that President Trump won the election, and I love the people he has surrounded himself with. It just I'm kind of all over the place, like typical, like always. But you know, I was so nervous because I'd heard rumors that Mike Pompeo was going to, that Trump was considering him to be part of his either cabinet or advisory or something, like he was before. And this Mike Pompeo, he's a bad dude. CIA, bad dude. Wanted to kill Julian Assange, wanted to get him killed, who was a journalist. It's ridiculous. He was just exposing what the government was doing and the sneakiness and infiltrating privacy of people. And so he wanted him killed. Pompeo did. And then Nikki Haley, neocon Nikki, never saw a war she didn't want to get involved in. And these two were, oh, well, yeah, Trump's looking at those guys. Well, it appears to be a bunch of bullcrap. However, I think I was listening to Alex Jones, and he remembered some tapes where Mike Pompeo said about Trump, keeping documents, top secret documents. He goes, yeah, Mike Pompeo saying this about Trump. Yeah, he it was on Fox News. He probably is going to get in trouble for this because you can't do that, And it's just all bullcrap. He was the president of the United States. He can keep whatever he wants. This is how they make their libraries and do all their stuff, But Alex Jones was able to get that information to Trump via Roger Stone and Tulsi Gabbard. And Trump saw the video of Mike Pompeo, and he goes, that guy. Well, the next day, he said both Nikki Haley and Pompeo, guess what? Appreciate your service in the past, but you're not going to be part of this administration at all. That made me feel really good. I think anytime there's a rumor of some establishment, rhino Republican, that has been doing the same thing. Like, I'm not a fan of Marco Rubio. I'm not a fan of these people. I'm just hoping Trump doesn't use these guys. Now, the last thing I'll talk about is that I think we need to continue, those of us that are thrilled that Trump got elected in such a mandate, both the electoral and the popular vote, landslide victory. And hopefully the House will not get corrupted and they'll be able to get a majority in the House. The Senate's already there, and so all of the cabinet and all the members of Trump's staff will be approved, more than likely. But the thing I feel like we need to relish in that and continue enjoying that victory, because the more if we relax from that, then that void gets filled with something else. And it's usually the opposition fills that void. We need to keep that going. We need to keep Trump and his family and those working and serving with him in our prayers for their safety and protection. This is a precarious time. Now, sorry, I get confused on the Ezra Eagle thing, and there's a couple of different philosophies on it, but Michael B. Rush, I think his is that Trump will get elected, but then get killed, I think, before he becomes president. I'm not positive, or maybe right after. And then there'll be mass riots in the United States in order for his thought of the short feather and all that kind of stuff. I don't even want to think about that prophecy being fulfilled, because once you start thinking that that's the agenda, you kind of wish that it would happen so that you'd be right and your books and everything you print out would be right. I'm not going to go down that camp. If it ends up being right, it's right. But I am not even going to think that for a minute. I want this time for us as a people, as a nation, and the influence we have on the world to be a time to prepare for the second coming, a reprieve, if you will, to really have a spiritual revival. I've mentioned this on the last video, where we can really have an opportunity to become spiritual and connected to God the Father and His Son Jesus Christ, and really separate ourselves. And you can do that through a reprieve. And I'm hoping that's what happens, that we have some good years with some really awesome winning. We're going to win bigly, and we're going to get tired of winning, and that's what I want for everyone. So and people that are having the meltdowns, they're going to have those. Some of them are just have mental illness, and they're controlled by the media. And it's sad. It's really sad. But for the most part, people are busy working, raising families, doing things. And if Trump would have lost, they would have got up the next morning very disappointed and gone, well, I got to go to work. I got to raise a family. I've got to help my kids. I've got to do this. I got to do that. And life goes on. But there are so many people that just feel like it's the end of the world because Kamala didn't get elected. And it's going to be just the opposite. It's going to be wonderful. So I would hope that we as Latter-day Saints would spend more time praying for Trump's safety than praying for Ezra's eagle to be right. I don't think we want that. I don't think we want that. Anyway, I think that's it for this video. You guys are awesome. Thanks for the support. It really helps. It helps that you watch, you listen, you share the videos if you think they're okay. And I would say that the unique take I had on this one with the BYU and the politics is that the BYU fans, the BYU Coach Whittingham, and the AD, the athletic director, were influenced both by the loss of the election and then the loss of the football game, and that's what caused the meltdown. That's probably my more unique take than anyone else's on that. So that's it. God bless. We will talk to you very soon again. Love you.